Income statement. Ang income statement is a formal statement showing the financial performance of an entity for a period of time. The financial performance of an entity is primarily measured in terms of the level of income earned by the entity through effective and efficient utilization of its resources. A period must expire before the financial performance of an entity can be properly measured. So basically, ang income statement, dito natin makikita yung financial performance ng entity. And a period must expire before the financial performance of an entity can be properly measured. Meaning, a period, it can be 1 month or quarterly or every 6 months or annually, every year. Dapat mag-expire muna bago natin ma-measure ang financial performance ng entity. Profit or loss. Profit or loss is the total of income less expenses excluding the components of other comprehensive income. This is the bottom line in the traditional income statement. An entity may use other term to describe this amount as long as the meaning is clear. Okay, so yung profit or loss, ito yung bottom line ng income statement. Meaning, ito yung makikita natin na huling line item sa income statement. And yung profit or loss, ito yung magsasabi or dito natin makikita kung ang entity ba ay nagkaroon ng profit or nagkaroon ba siya ng tubo or nagkaroon ba siya ng loss or siya ba ay nalugi. Kapag ang income ay mas malaki sa expenses ng entity, meron siyang profit, meron siyang tubo. Kapag naman ang income ay mas maliit sa expenses, meaning, yung entity ay meron siyang loss or nalugi siya. And ang entity, sabi dito, an entity may use other term to describe this amount as long as the meaning is clear. So, ibig sabihin, okay lang tayong gumamit ng ibang term na referring sa profit other than profit na term, provided na ang meaning ay clear. Example, instead na profit ang gagamitin nating term, pwedeng net income. Or instead na loss ang gagamitin natin, net loss. As long as malinaw as long as the meaning is clear, okay lang daw na magbago ng term. Forms of income statement. The income statement may be presented in two ways, namely functional and natural. Functional presentation or cost of goods sold method. So ang other term ng functional presentation is cost of goods sold method or cost of sales method. Cost of sales method or functional presentation classifies expenses according to function. Okay, kinaklasify niya ang expenses sa function. Remember, ang expenses ay lalabas sa income statement. So, paano siya ipine-present? According sa PAS 1, pwede siyang functional, pwede ring natural. At pag functional, ang expense ay naka-classified according sa function. Cost of sales, distribution cost, administrative expense, and other expenses. Okay. So, given na marunong na kayo mag-record ng expenses. So, ang gagawin natin ngayon is pa-practicein natin yung pag-classify ng expenses kung siya ba ay cost of sales, distribution cost, administrative, or other expenses. Distribution cost. Distribution costs are costs which are directly related to selling, advertising, and delivery of goods to customer. Distribution costs ordinarily include, so bago tayo mag-enumerate ng examples ng distribution cost, ang other term ng distribution cost is yung selling expenses. Minsan, distribution cost ang ginagamit na line item sa income statement, minsan selling expenses ang ginagamit. Parehas lang naman sila ng meaning. Examples ay salesman salaries, salesman commission, traveling and marketing expense, advertising, freight out, or yung delivery expense, other term ng freight out, depreciation of delivery and store equipment. So basically lang, ang distribution cost or selling expenses, ito yung mga expenses na related sa selling and advertising and delivery of goods. So any expense, like itong mga naka-enumerate na to, pag ito ay lumabas na sa income statement, lahat ito ay naka-aggregate sa line item na distribution cost or selling expenses. Administrative expense. Administrative expense constitute cost of administering business. Administrative expense ordinarily include expenses not related to selling and cost of sales. Examples include doubtful accounts, office salaries, expenses of general executives, general accounting and credit department, office supplies used, certain taxes. So example nito yung mga taxes and licenses expense, siya ay administrative. Contribution. So yung mga SS contribution, PhilHealth contribution, siya ay administrative expense. Provided na ang employee na pinapertake ng contribution is office employee na hindi related sa selling at hindi rin related sa cost of sales. Professional fees, depreciation of office building and equipment, and amortization of intangible assets. So mag-note na tayo dito. Kanina, yung distribution cost, gagamitin natin to sa pagsosolve ng problems. Distribution cost is related sa selling, advertising, delivery. Ayan. Kapag naman administrative expense, so ito naman yung related sa administering business. Yan. So nakakadalawa na tayo. So kapag distribution cost or selling expense, other term nan, selling, advertising, delivery related. Kapag admin expense or administrative expense, mga expenses na related sa administering or administrating business. And ito yung mga examples. Other expenses. Other expenses are those expenses which are not directly related to the selling and administrative function. Examples include loss on sale of trading securities, PPE and non-current investment, casualty loss. So kapag naman other expenses, ito naman yung mga expenses usually na hindi nagfo-fall under ng selling expense. Hindi rin siya nagfo-fall sa administrative expense at hindi rin siya nagfo-fall sa cost of sales. And last, hindi rin siya nagfo-fall sa tinatawag nating finance cost, which is yung susunod natin na line item. So, ang other expense is basically, ito yung mga hindi selling, hindi din administrative expense, hindi rin cost of sales related, at hindi rin siya finance cost, which is yung next item. And ang example nito is usually yung mga loss on sale of assets, like trading securities, PPE, and non-current investment, and yung mga casualty loss, like loss from flood, loss from earthquake, loss from fire. Lahat yon is sa other expense na ina-aggregate. Finance cost, ang finance cost is ito yung mga interest expense. So pag may interest expense na expense ang entity, doon siya ilalagay sa finance cost. Interest expense meaning ito yung cost of borrowing. Cost of borrowing money, which is cost of financing. So, kaya siya sa finance cost nakalagay. So, finance cost is interest expense. Yan. Yan yung example. No more extraordinary items. PAS 1, paragraph 87 mandates that an entity shall not present any items of income and expense as extraordinary items in the income statement or statement of comprehensive income or in the notes. Accordingly, any casualty loss from earthquake, typhoon, hurricane, tsunami, flood, fire, and other natural disaster is treated as other expense. So, meaning, lahat ng loss from casualty, other expense, which is na-mention kanina. Any gain from expropriation is treated as other income. So, meaning, ang sinasabi lang ng PAS 1 regarding sa mga extraordinary items, By the way, ang extraordinary items is ito yung mga items na napaka-unusual, meaning napaka-rare ng transaction. Napaka-unusual. So, kapag may unusual na transaction ng entity or mga very rare na transaction like casualty loss, hindi na siya nilalagay as extraordinary item sa income statement. Nilalagay siya sa line item na other expense. And kapag naman gain from expropriation, which is unusual, other income naman ang kanyang line item. Hindi na kailangan maglagay ng line item na gain from expropriation sa income statement at hindi na rin kailangan maglagay ng line item as loss or casualty loss dahil sabi ng PAS 1 wala nang extraordinary items. Okay, functional presentation. The following amounts are gathered from the records of GL Company for 2020. Okay, given yung kanyang income statement accounts and ang requirement, prepare the statement of cost of goods manufactured and income statement using the cost of sales method with supporting notes. Okay, cost of sales method meaning functional presentation ang gagawin natin. And kailangan natin gumawa ng statement of cost of goods manufactured and income statement. So, una natin gagawa muna tayo ng statement of cost of goods manufactured dahil kailangan muna natin magawa itong statement of cost of goods manufactured bago tayo makagawa ng income statement. And ang formula to compute the cost of goods manufactured would be ito. Okay, manufacturing setup. Cost of goods manufactured, magsisimula siya sa raw materials and plus the total cost of raw material purchases. Then, yung total nilang dalawa would be total raw materials available for use. Babawas natin yung raw materials and then yung difference would be the raw materials used. Dagdag natin si direct labor and plus the manufacturing overhead. And raw materials used plus direct labor plus factory overhead or manufacturing overhead equals total manufacturing cost. Then, pag nakuha na natin yung total manufacturing cost, dagdag natin si work in process or goods in process beginning. Makukuha natin yung total work in process or total goods in process. Then, babawas natin yung work in process or goods in process and makukuha natin yung cost of goods manufactured. So, gagawa muna tayo ng cost of goods, statement of cost of goods manufactured, and ito yung proforma, then i-apply natin dito. Titingnan natin yung mga item dito kung siya ba ay magfo-fall ng cost of goods manufactured. And syempre, yung hindi maka-classify as cost of goods manufactured, titingnan na rin natin kung siya ba ay distribution cost, admin expense, other expense, or finance cost. Okay. So, gagawin na natin yung cost of goods manufactured. Sales. Consider ng sales, hindi. Raw materials, January 1. So, that would be raw materials beginning. So, ito ay pasok sa, kukonsider natin siya sa pagkukompute ng cost of goods manufactured. Goods in process and finished goods. So, nandito yan. So, ito yung work in process and finished goods, which is a cost of sales. Pasok sila. Ito ay cost of goods manufactured. Ito naman ay sa cost of sales. So, kapag na-compute natin yung cost of goods manufactured, makakompute na natin yung cost of goods sold ng GL company, which is cost of goods manufactured plus finished goods beginning. That would be TIGAS pag pinag-total. Then, less the finished goods and cost of goods sold. So, finished goods is, pasok siya sa pagko-compute ng cost of goods sold. Raw materials and goods in process dito would be cost of goods manufactured. Finished goods sa cost of goods sold. Actually, ang raw materials and goods in process, pasok din naman siya sa cost of goods sold. Di ba? dahil nakapaloob siya sa cost of goods manufactured. But ang kailangan muna natin gawin is gagawa tayo ng cost of goods manufactured. Kaya nakabukod yung ating classification ng cost of goods manufactured and cost of sales. Purchases. Ito, purchases. Kapag ang setup ng entity ay manufacturing at kapag nakakita kayo ng purchases na gantong account title lang, purchases alone, it is assumed na ito ay raw material purchases. So, ito ay pasok sa cost of goods manufactured. Direct labor, pasok din siya. Ito siya, direct labor sa cost of goods manufactured. Cost of goods manufactured. Indirect labor. Okay. Ang indirect labor ay nakapaloob sa manufacturing overhead or factory overhead. Ang manufacturing overhead or factory overhead, ito yung mga manufacturing cost na hindi siya raw materials use or hindi siya maka-classify sa raw materials use, hindi rin siya maka-classify sa direct labor, pero product manufacturing related. So, siya ay manufacturing overhead. So, merong ditong comprehensive discussion ng raw materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. So, under ng cost accounting playlist. So, kung gusto nyo magkaroon ng further information about sa mga cost na ito, please consider watching yung video na yon. Indirect labor is considered as manufacturing overhead. Pasok siya sa cost of goods manufactured. Superintendents. Okay, ano ba tong account na to? Ibig sabihin, superintendents is ito yung mga sweldo ng mga tao na nagsusupervise. And kapag superintendents lang ang term, it is assumed na ito ay manufacturing related. So, ito ay manufacturing overhead, pasok sa cost of goods manufactured. Light, heat, and power. So, ito ay assumed din na manufacturing related. So, ay cost of goods manufactured. Rent, factory building. So, related sa factory na cost, no? Na rent, pasok sa cost of goods manufactured. Repairs machinery, cost of goods manufactured dahil production related pero hindi siya maka-classify as direct labor and raw materials use. Tayo sa kabila. Factory supplies used, cost of goods manufactured. Sales salaries, eto, pasok pa ba to sa cost of goods manufactured? Di ba hindi na? Ang sales salaries is related sa selling expense. So, titingnan natin dito saan siya mapupunta sa income statement. Siya ay selling expense related distribution cost. Therefore, ito ay distribution cost. Advertising. So, ito ay distribution cost din, selling related. Depreciation, store equipment. So, depreciation expense pero store equipment. Pertaining sa store equipment. Store which is related sa selling. So, ito ay pasok sa distribution cost. Office salaries. So, cost of administering business. Mga empleyado ng opisina. Ito ay pasok sa administrative expense. Depreciation office equipment. Ito ay pasok sa administrative expense dahil pertaining sa office equipment. Depreciation, machinery. Okay, depreciation ulit pero machinery which is related sa manufacturing operations at since na related sa manufacturing, ito ay pasok sa cost of goods manufactured. Sales returns and allowance, so ito ay contra sales account. Interest income, so ito ay income account. Gain on sale ng equipment, income din. Delivery expense, distribution cost. Accounting and legal fees, so administrative related, administrative expense. Office expense, so administrative expense din. Earthquake loss, so napaka-unusual ng transaction na to. Kumbaga, rare, extraordinary item. So, earthquake loss. So, siya ay other expense. Other expense. Gain from expropriation of assets. So, siya ay gain, hindi siya expense. And income tax expense. Ang income tax expense is, ito ay separate line item, which is normally, susunod ito sa profit or net income before tax. So, dyan na lang muna yan. So, ginawa natin is, na-classify na natin yung mga expenses kung siya ba ay cost of goods manufactured, cost of sales, distribution cost, administrative expense, or other expense. So, gagawin natin, statement of cost of goods manufactured, then statement of cost of sales, then income statement.